God Carnival is brought to you by KFC, It's Good, White Oak, Rain, and Devon Chocolate Digestive.
Better days are coming, change your ways. Don't let this moment pass you by and remain the same. Better days are coming, change your ways. Don't let this moment pass you by and remain the same. Hey, what we gonna do now? There's no panorama. Hey, we can jump up and play mass in the savannah.
Start the fire day, start the Ramadan, start the Kambulega. Then we take the road again. Yes, we wanna play and fight another day.
You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you come from.
What you gonna do when the rhythm gets away?
A tree without its roots can't stand.
Hold it back, we gonna find our way. Fight forward, the rhythm from my way. My boys, start the carnival. Crazy bacchanal. Yeah, the people ball.
The band, as Lionel Jackson Associates and Jaguar Costumes now, has been around for at least 46 years. It was started by my dad and his friends. It's called Jaguar Costumes right now. It's a costume production company. We focus on traditional mass, contemporary, conventional theater, backdrops, plays, stuff like that, and also carnival costume. So the history of why we chose fancy Indian mass is that I could use today's kids as an example because they use Marvel as their superheroes and they use comic books and stuff like that. In my parents' days, Western movies were their media and their choice. So when they saw the Westerns and they see how Indians were strong and brave and stuff like that and cool, they chose to portray that as their costume out of admiration and respect. But fancy Indian as we know it, it's totally Trinidadian. It is something that we made here. A costume actually takes a couple of months to make. The larger headpieces actually have 24 hours of work put into them. And making the bead patterns, they are made one at a time, so one bead at a time per pattern, and some costumes have hundreds of bead patterns on them, so it takes the full year to complete a full costume. In fancy Indian and traditional Indian, every headpiece can signify your rank. So the more feathers you have is the higher the rank you are. So that held true in actual Native American culture, and we use that the same way when you're playing fancy Indian mass. So you have one feather, you always start off like that. Sometimes you don't start with no feathers because you have to learn to dance, you have to learn the whole show before you get to move from a brave to a chief. We use modern colors and materials like glass and plastics and stuff, but we still hold the patterns and shapes, and we try to use the brightest colors. The colors we choose for our band and our sections and pieces are mainly for artistic value, and the combinations is a personal choice by our main artist, which is my father, Lionel Jaguar. He combines the colors in a way that we haven't seen anywhere else, and that is one of our signatures, the group of colors, the way we group them. The herringbone chest piece came from armor plating that the Native Americans used to wear, and they didn't have beads before they met Europeans. They tricked them into telling them that beads were money. It wasn't nothing. So they had to use it now in some way they found to decorate themselves. But we use it now as decorations, and that also holds true with the rank and value and richness. So an Indian with more beads means more wealth because he thought it was money at the point in time. A nice story about the shield is that when an Indian goes into battle, another tribe or the white person would see an image on the shield. And that image signifies that person's style and the way that he would be in battle. So you see a guy with a bear on a shield, you know you don't want to fight him because he's so strong like a bear. You see somebody with a deer on their shield, they're quick, you can't catch them. Hiding your face was important long time because they always have the saying in Trinidad with mass and know you, because with somebody mass you're playing, you might not like your family and friends to know you're playing that mass because it had negative stigmas to it. Today, we use it as a mask also and as decoration, but it comes from camouflage techniques where Native Americans would go into battle and change the way their face looks to look like either an animal or to break up the edges, so from a distance the human brain wouldn't understand that it's a face they're seeing coming through the bushes or coming into battle. In terms of dance in fancy Indian, what must be mentioned is choreography is important to all traditional mass, and that was the main reason my father chose traditional over conventional, because he appreciated that choreography. All fancy Indian dance today is based on natural movements of the Native Americans with our Trinidad flair and movement and that pepper sauce in there that we like to put. Before big trucks, each band had to create their own music and their own sound. So in Native American and Fancy Indian Mass, we would have chants. The chants are a Black Indian Warahoon language with Hindi words, African words, Spanish words. We added that to it. Each name that we choose carries a certain spirit and a certain respect as well. You would try to choose the strongest chief or the most accomplished chief. So my dad's favorite person is Sitting Bull. And his son was Crowfoot. His best friend was Crowfoot actually, and he named his son after that. So I'm also known as Crowfoot. That would be my favorite. But when I choose a king costume, every year the story is different and the costume is different. We chose to do an exaggerated version of what the actual Native Americans are and add it to our culture, our carnival culture. The pandemic has affected traditional mass and Jagasa costumes both in a positive way and in a negative way. Negatively, we saw that we would not have as much business because we haven't sold a costume since last year Carnival, and that is our main form of revenue, producing costumes. But positively, because we don't have the parade and that focus on bikini and beads mass and the fetes and stuff, the interest has fallen now to the craft and the mass makers and performers. So when we thought we wouldn't have anything, we have more opportunities now to explain and teach and share because people are seeing now the importance of traditional parts of Carnival.
Why Satanai, why? Hey, tu mamu apai. Tu mamu apai. Blue Satanai, why? Why Satanai, why? Bo no why?
Better days are coming, change your ways. Don't let this moment pass you by and remain the same. Better days are coming, change your ways. Don't let this moment pass you by and remain the same. Hey, what we gonna do now? There's no panorama. Hey, we can jump up and play mass in the savannah.
Respect the spark that start the flame.
The family go sour. The queen, she might sing she soul, but the mother go proud when he's singing out loud. What? Dark me to the world.
What killing us is that we try to separate it too much. Jamaica don't separate their music. They don't. Dancehall, reggae. Instead of just fighting for just soca to be the calypso soca. Don't exile it out. Because that is what most of them know it as, actually. Calypso. And that's why I always do both. And until we get it right, they won't take us on too much. We have to respect the spark that start the flame. Yes, we're enjoying the big bonfire, but we have to remember, because a lot of people is like, Calypso, that's a small thing. Yes, but that small spark is what start that big bonfire.
Our industry has been programmed in a certain way because of the carnival season, I would say. Because you have such a short window to get your song in the mix of things, for your song to promote your song, for your song to be big, because everybody want to get into the events. And this is like the means of our revenue, our main revenue. So it provided selfishness throughout the years. I believe that was the programming. And now that we don't have a season, I believe that it provided the opportunity for us to be unselfish and think about the bigger picture of the art form apart from not just ourselves.
I still feel as though soca is still in its teething stages, just comparatively in terms of like other genres, if we compare to other genres. I know I can speak on behalf of myself and a lot of my peers. We are making sure that we do the work in terms of, writing good material. And everything has improved so much, just the songwriting, the production, the mixes, the mastering, that can easily rival now any other song. I have a lot of confidence in soca music. I have a lot of confidence in soca artists, the established ones as well as the ones who are upcoming. Soca is good, so good. I personally don't think that soca is seasonal. One of the things that I need people to understand is we very often try to change what soca is in terms of like, this is music, this is happy music, this is music to make people feel good. It just so happens it works well with Carnival. You know, it's a marriage made in heaven. That is not to say that we can't play the songs that we play in at Carnival time, that we can't play them during the year.
We can release music anytime right through the year, and it's getting played right through the year because people missing it now. They're missing it even more. Because normally after Carnival, they may want to hear why had a release after Carnival. But now, even after Carnival, I could still release something.
It is very possible for us to create music throughout the year. When it comes to the content, I believe throughout the years we have swayed in different directions where the messages in the music could be expressed throughout the year regardless of the season. But what we would ask is for the public to give us a listening ear and to understand that the music is just not a wine and jam and a carnival, but the music is deeper than that.
You're my friend forever. So we love each other with a good vibe. Live with a good vibe. Together is a good vibe. Blessed with a good vibes.
Carnival for us has grown into being very business oriented. So it's all about planning and executing during that time. So Carnival is very busy in terms of our minds just keep going and making sure everything runs smoothly. Late 2020 we decided Black to Blue being our biggest event in the Carnival season, we needed to do something for it, and that is what we came up with, the whole concept of the backyard jam. The previous virtuals we saw, it was just people looking at your phone or looking at your television inside your house and really not being able to fully experience it how we would want it to be. So at Illusions, we always try to make the experience something unforgettable, right? Even in our physical events. So we try to think about how we would get that physical experience as close as possible in this virtual space. And we decided to say, all right, we're gonna say it's a backyard jam. So we also offered our sponsors had packages that you could have pre-buy, similar to what you would have gotten in the physical experience, and really make your backyard into your own Black to Blue fete. Last year, for the first time in 2020, we actually streamed our event live on Facebook, and we used that to actually sell to our sponsors. Hey, look at how much views we got. We got over 30,000 views just by streaming our event live last year. So people who are abroad in all the other regional countries, in the States and UK, they were able to feel as though they were there right there looking at the event live. So in my belief, I believe that moving forward, events will always have this physical experience where you could actually go and pay and go into the event, and it will also have the virtual experience. So it will be very interesting to see.
For Carnival, Suntix is one of the major ticketing providers for most of the fetes, which ranges from the school fetes all the way to the national events with the Panorama, Soca Monarch, some of these larger events. And we also staff these events. Carnival time is really our peak season. So the bulk of our events, probably about 2/3 of the events we do for a year, happens during the Carnival period. This year, in the absence of Carnival, the number of events that we have probably done for this season, you can probably count them on the digits of one hand. As opposed to previously, by now, we'd have probably been well into 70 or 80 events already gone. Carnival events and carnival activity in general is very experiential. There can be a way that we can pivot our events to, attract virtual audiences, but it's not going to be an overnight process. It's not going to be very easy, and it's going to take the audiences some time to adjust, in the same way that it's going to take the artists and the producers some time to adjust. So while people's tastes are going to change and they are going to adapt, and I think that going forward, therefore, it is going to be very important that we present a sort of hybrid model where events are covered both virtually as well as physically going forward. So in terms of Suntix, what we are doing is we are pivoting for the change, because we have always sold not just fetes and concerts and sporting events, but we've also done other experiential type things that are ticketed. So a big part of our business has also been, tours and experiences. Therefore, what we are looking at doing right now is pivoting our platform in a way to allow some of these experiences also to become virtual. As an entrepreneur, change and challenges is part of who I am.
Better days are coming, coming, change your ways. Don't let this moment pass you by and remain the same. Better days are coming, coming, change your ways. Don't let this moment pass you by and remain the same. Hey, what we gonna do now? There's no panorama. Hey, we got jump up and play mass in the savannah.
This, in a way, it had to happen. The pandemic happened, but I think that creatively we have come to a point, and everything happens for a reason. Creatively, we had come to a point that something needed to happen to push us in a further direction. It's impossible for us as people to have gone through what we went through in the past year. This is like disease, protests, vaccination, hope, depression, everything we've been going through for the past couple of months. Going into the next couple of months, it's impossible for us to have traversed that and be the same person. So I know that I am different. I don't know how, but I know I feel different. I know that our market is different. And ultimately, art reflects reality. Its existence is based on the environment that it's in. And as that environment is changing, it would be naive of us to think that the beads are going to remain here, the feathers are going to remain there, the scotch going to remain there. It's going to turn into something else. We just don't know what that is going to be. Carnival is a way of life. Carnival for us is a conduit to ourselves. But whether you are a carnival person or not, carnival impacts what you do in your year. It's either you're playing mass, that's one side of it, or you're taking the children and you're going away, or you're going to church camp, or something is happening because Carnival is happening. And I think that is one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen. 2020 and 21 Carnivals and these seasons is definitely impacting everything that comes after it. I mean, life is like dominoes. When one falls, the rest of them start tilting and tilting. I do think that we're going to take a little while to get back into gear. Even if a vaccine comes, you're going to have people who they may not feel safe. That's a reality. Then you have the opposite. You have people who can't wait to get the vaccine to be able to jump on that road again and feel that connection. One of the things that I've seen immediately impacted is, I don't know, I just feel like if this fervor and excitement for Carnival is just so much greater this year than I have ever felt, and I'm so happy. And I think people are recognizing their feelings and their relationship with Carnival in a different way. And so when it comes back, I think that first Juve morning on the road is going to be tear-jerking. There's going to be a big carnival.
Lockdown dance, so let me pass. I jam in on every bumper pass. DJs let the music blast. I hope this lockdown is the last. Playing mass with me mass. Playing mass with me mass. Welcome back to Carnival. Cess. Shut a Johnny Walker, now you get low. Cess. Shut a White Hooker, now you get low. Cess. Shut a Punch, now you get low. Cess. Shut a Hennessy, I know you get low. Shot a white coke, I know you get low. Shot a Hennessy, I know you get low.
2020 was one of the most challenging years for aviation globally. Normally, outside of the pandemic, this would be a very active time for inflows into Trinidad and Tobago. This situation is nothing short of dynamic. But as I say to my colleagues, in a situation as fluid as this, there is much opportunity for innovation and cooperation, perhaps where before we may have taken that for granted. The key opportunities that has arisen for Caribbean Airlines has been cargo. Fortunately, cargo operations never closed. So, and our cargo department were very instrumental in the critical movement of goods and services throughout the region. Within that, there's a level of innovation. So, for example, now persons who are interested, you can charter an aircraft to move cargo. It is not easy. It is not an easy time for this industry. But in the midst of it, we continue to soldier on.
To be very honest, Carnival season doesn't start or stop for me usually. I mean, Trinidad Carnival starts and ends, but it rolls into numerous carnivals, which coincidentally rolls straight back into Carnival locally. So basically for me it's non-stop. I usually do backing tracks for Charles Marshall, Problem Child. So once someone has one of the guys has a serious year, one year, the year with Splinters, Charles Marshall and myself, we did 160 something events in one carnival locally. So going from that to this, being home more than anything else, it was a shocker and it was a big change, but it was welcome still. You know, the rest was warranted. One of my best friends, Christian Nigans, who's also a DJ out of our artist team, our team, he sent me some stuff and he was like, yo, you know, we started to do little home gardens and thing, and he was like, well, instead of buying any pots, let's start to recycle stuff and, you know, use it to our advantage. And we started doing that and using pallet wood and creating different things, and eventually it turned into what it is now, building.
The main ingredient to building. We have had a lot of support, even with the support of my business partner, Marcus. Him pushing me, I pushing him, and it doesn't stop when we leave our workshop. It's a lot of prep behind the scenes. The same way there'll be a behind the scenes of a TV show, there's a lot of prep behind the scenes. It's not just the actual us cutting wood and gluing it together. We have to be constantly coming up with new ideas, as well as us honing our skills of carpentry. Choose between entertainment and building it's a very hard question. I really, in this point in my life, I don't think I could choose, because I'm right now at the point where I'm missing entertainment, but I love what I do.
Drinks in me cooler and we ready to go. Oh, this time last year I was winding low like if I alone in the show. I'm winding down low, it's wrong. I'm missing the people party, I'm missing the complimentary, I'm missing the rush of adrenaline when it's bare hot gas around me. I'm missing my cup with ice, I'm missing my Juve vibes, I'm miss reaching up in VIP without paying VIP price. Oh no, I was holding on to a wicked bumper. Oh no, jamming up on a perfect stranger. Oh no.
Over the last couple of decades, I extended my repertoire of works, and so I'm not painting now only landscapes or seascapes. I'm not just drawing and sketching. I'm not just doing sculptures, but I'm producing murals on a large scale, which for the most part allude to social issues and so on. There's a lot of social observation in these murals, but not only that, the imagery I'm using in them is Carnival inspired imagery. So when Carnival was cancelled and I had these works accumulating in my studio, in my garage and so on, it occurred to me that because I never have an opportunity to display them because gallery spaces are too small, here was a chance not to replace Carnival, but to contribute to something about the spirit of the thing, bring a little relief to people. And I thought the best way to do it is put it in a big space, my street. These traditional characters left a very deep impression on me when I was a child. I never forgot them. They're engraved in my mind. I draw and sketch them up to now, and I use them in these murals as symbols, metaphors to represent other layers of meaning. As a child, I was so entertained in the streets with individual characters. I would love to see that kind of entertainment return, but I have to be realistic. I mean, people could accuse me now of being indulging in nostalgia. I'm not saying bring back the rubber how he was, but I'm saying I wish I could have that kind of street theater going on. I really wish for it.
Hi, I'm Trotty.
I'm Ainka Will, this is Selector Keto, and we are Team Up in the Morning.
9 to 12 noon, Monday to Friday.
The next 99.1 FM Soca Pick of the Week is
Nadia Batson, Sugar Daddy.
God Carnival was brought to you by KFC, It's Good, White Oak, Rain, and Devon Chocolate Digestive.